Welcome back. Building houses remain one of the biggest challenges in South Africa. This is especially so in the light of a 3% economic growth rate, high inflation, increasing prices for building material and transport costs, and high levels of unemployment. These factors impeded on the delivery of houses. Introducing his budget vote in Parliament, Human Settlements Minister Tokyo Sexwale said in 2009 the department committed to delivering 200,000 houses. In 2011, it spent 98% of its budget to delivering about 180,000 housing opportunities.
This decreased figure is as a result of the above-mentioned factors, including low economic performance, inflation, increased building materials, and increased labor and transportation costs. But the situation could have been worse. In addition to these adverse factors, funds have been spent on requisite infrastructure, geotech evaluations, feasibility studies, and forward planning. Significantly, over 400 million, and this is said, of the budget was spent on rectification unnecessarily to repair shoddy houses that predate the year 2002, which otherwise could have offered this house, through a budget of last year, 7,000 housing units. Nevertheless, it is noteworthy that the houses that are being constructed are aesthetically superior and of high quality, standard and design.
In its endeavors to root out corruption and maladministration, the focus is now on low-cost housing construction contracts. Minister Sexwale told the House more than 50 housing projects with the value of 4.2 billion rand had been identified.
Provinces are participating in the fight against corruption, with Limpopo taking the lead. Not everything bad comes from Limpopo. And congratulations to the former HOD, who's now MEC. 24 contractors are blacklisted for shoddy workmanship. And these cases and others have also been referred to the Special Investigations Unit. I want to identify the Special Investigations Unit as a special organ that assists us. And they are not tiring, that assist us in making sure that we go after the people who abuse public funds. Regarding public servants, in all three spheres of government who committed housing subsidy-related misconduct and fraud, more than 290 people have been arrested, over 250 found guilty, and over 220 are facing internal disciplinary action. I say these things with a heavy heart. My job as minister is not to be a policeman chasing people around. But you members ask me questions about these things, and you always say, shoddy, investigations, what have you done? That's what we do. Ms. Tambi Mpotulo, former head and Chief Director of the National Sanitation Program, was found guilty of dereliction of duty and improper conduct. She has been dismissed. Mr. Shipoma Sinini, suspended CEO of NHBRC, has been dismissed by Judge Mybeck of the Labour Court.
Fly-by-night constructors with their wheelbarrows and bakkies have cost the Department of Human Settlements dearly. The department is now considering a state-owned construction company.
This question is posed because when large construction projects take place, harbors and so on, we bring large companies with their black economic empowerment partners. And yet when we build houses for people who elected us, we leave them to the devices of the shoddy workmanship small builders who bring their wheelbarrows, who bring their bakkies, who bring their shovels. Many of these discredit the actual campaign of empowering people.
Nomhle Dambuza, the chairperson of the Human Settlements Portfolio Committee, highlighted one of the challenges the department still had to resolve. She said much progress had been made with water supply, but that was not the case with sanitation.
Major hurdles are the financial sustainability of investment, sanitation, technologies, quality, as well as lack of attention to maintenance. According to the General Household Surveys, the highest proportion of individuals having to do with toilet facilities without or having to use bucket toilets. At least the Eastern Cape has to pull up its socks, Limpopo to follow, Northern Cape and Mpumalanga. However, the Portfolio Committee has welcomed the initiative by the Minister of Human Settlements on the establishment of the National Task Team to audit the status of access to sanitation in the country, and the report is awaited to this effect. The committee further recommends that sanitation must be a top priority in this country.
Ms. Dambuza said the department also had a major role to play in addressing the effects of climate change at household level. But another concern was the conditions farm workers were living under.
The Portfolio Committee noted with great concern the appalling conditions under which farms workers are living, including lack of security of tenure, ongoing evictions from farms despite the promulgation of the legislation to protect tenure security, as well as poor housing conditions. The committee has also observed inadequate collaborative planning amongst the departments, irrespective of the existence of the delivery agreements. Must be noted that plans to work together are hugely rewarding for all involved and are very much a two-way relationship, with innovative cost-sharing initiatives coming into place to leverage funding to deliver more for less, but at the same time provide best value for taxpayers' money.
Mr. Stevens Mokgalapa, the DA Shadow Minister for Human Settlements, said the department faced enormous challenges, which included poor planning, unachieved targets, and increasing budgets with decreasing service delivery targets. Mr. Mokgalapa said it was the government's responsibility to provide access to housing for those who cannot afford it themselves, but the country can't afford the existing model.
The government needs a paradigm shift from creating dependency towards building partnerships, participation, and responsibility in housing delivery. Bold decisions should be taken to end the cycle of entitlement and introduce a self-help mechanism. Political will is required. We all acknowledge that the existing model of housing delivery is unsustainable and is draining the fiscus. Innovative and alternative means of housing should be explored to meet the ever-increasing backlog of 2.2 million. It is a ticking time bomb. People need sustainable human livelihoods which are of quality standard and have amenities and is close to jobs. The USDG, which is one of the main grants for urban informal settlement upgrade, is also falling short of its target. More than 50% of this grant was not spent in the last financial year. 3.5 billion of the 6 billion allocated was not spent. The RHIG, the Rural Household Infrastructure Grant, is another important grant that deals with the rural basic infrastructure and services. Only 20% of this grant was spent in the last financial year. Of the allocated 257 million, only 57 million was spent, while rural basic services backlog is escalating. Yet the budget for this financial year has been increased to 479 million. Urgent plans must be put into place to ensure that this new allocation is spent to deal with rural sanitation backlog.
Mr. Mokgalapa said the ratification program to fix shoddy houses was simply a form of fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
This financial year, 930 million is budgeted for rectification. This amount should rather be used to develop further new houses and not towards fixing the mess of shoddy workmanship. Last year, the minister made a call to deal with these contractors who build shoddy workmanship and to blacklist them. We welcome that only 24 have been blacklisted, but there is much more, Minister, you know that. The NHBRC fails to perform its mandate. I have conducted oversights in 2 projects, one in Umlazi B10, KwaZulu-Natal, and in Bramfisherville, Soweto, where I was shocked to see people's living condition as a result of poor workmanship. People's houses are collapsing, they are in storage lines and in flat lines. In one house, they have to spend 30,000 alone on rectification. Shame on the NHBRC and the department for costing the poor. The SONA has highlighted the massive infrastructure upgrade in human settlement, which were promised as priority projects. The department is spending 20% of its budget on these projects. However, these projects are filled with challenges and battle to get off the ground. The challenges include lack of intergovernmental coordination and cooperation, protracted EIAs and town planning processes, land, basic services, bulk infrastructure, incapacity, poor procurement and project planning.
We hear what more members of the Extended Public Committee had to say on the state of human settlements after the break. Stay with us.